Thank you, listeners. Thanks for joining us for Elko Live today. Our pre-recorded program features our guest from the Career and Technical Education Division of the Elko County School District. Heather Steele is a facilitator for this very important and growing program. Heather, it's always a pleasure to see you, and thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Lori. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. This is a special month, although every month should be. It's officially CTE month in January or February?
It is. So February is CTE month nationally, and Governor Lombardo always declares February is CTE month. So we're trying to focus on all of the amazing things that our programs are doing in the month of February, which isn't enough time because there's so many amazing things going on.
Well, that's why you have a whole half an hour to talk about it today. I guess the first thing we could do is just define what CTE is and how it's administered through the school district under your direction, Heather.
So Career and Technical Education in Elko County covers about 85 programs across all 7 high schools. It involves all of the programs that train students to enter the workforce. So that can be ag mechanics, ag science, computer science, business, teaching and training is one of our newer ones, health science. So anything that can train students to enter the workforce, that's what we consider career and tech ed in Elko County.
And so obviously you work closely with, high school counselors, community colleges, universities, anything that can get maybe some of our students steered in the right direction?
Sure. So the value of career and technical education is making them not just career ready, but college ready too, if that's the pathway that they choose. So we have several different agreements with different institutions across Nevada to make sure that students have ample opportunities to choose the path that they want to.
Most importantly, it's just having a path in the first place. Sometimes you back up, you veer off the trail, you take a whole different direction, but as long as you're going in some direction, right? Because that seems to be the current mood, is that some students feel a little lost. And even adults can feel that way.
Sure, and CTE is meant to get you the skills that you need to enter the workforce, but more importantly, our programs can help students eliminate what they don't want to be. So for example, I know that I wouldn't want anything to do with sick people. So health sciences is not my pathway. However, sick animals is where I found my passion to begin with. So.
Oh, wonderful, Heather. And that's a great kind of direction that students need, and even young adults for that matter. So I want to make sure that we're getting right to what because with 85 programs to administer, fresh from recent conferences and seminars and headed toward more collaboration, I'll just kind of let you take it away and hit some of the highlights, Heather.
Perfect. So one of the things that I really want to talk about is our new dental assisting pipeline that's coming on board in fall 2024. It's a collaboration between us and the Nevada Division of Public Health. They put in federal grant funds through Nevada Medicaid, or Nevada Medicaid's administering it, I guess, to increase rural access to dental care. And one part of that is starting a dental assisting pipeline. So this fall, juniors and seniors will be able to enroll in 2 TMCC dual credit courses that will come with an opportunity for labs, at their school sites. The instructors are actually going to travel to us, and then the students will actually get some practicum hours in those dental offices. So we're excited about that. After completing those 2 courses, of course, they'll have college credit through TMCC, but they'll be ready to move into dental assisting as a career, or eliminating it as a career, whichever way you want to look at it.
As we talked about, sometimes that's what happens early on, and it's better to decide that early on to figure that out. So
Sure, and then students would be able to, the great thing about these types of programs is students can work in those fields while they're trying to figure out the rest of what life looks like. So if they want to go to dental hygiene school, then they'll have the certifications and able to work as a dental assistant while they're pursuing that further education, or an education in something else if that's what they so choose.
Well, Heather, we do know that CTE usually responds directly to what communities need, and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, right?
It's definitely not. So our goal is always to have programs in place that lead students towards high-wage, high-demand careers. The gears of education don't necessarily turn as quickly as the workforce does. However, through our industry partners, we can really make some things happen rapidly, like with our Fire Science Academy, where our industry partners came to us and said, we need to fulfill wildland firefighter positions really badly. How can we work together to do that? And the Wildland Fire Academy was born from that. So launching on Friday this week is a 5-week cohort of students who will start training and earning their certifications towards becoming wildland firefighters. Once they're 18, they will be able to directly enter the career and have the certifications in hand.
And it's important to note, too, that often these are high-demand jobs. They do require some sort of skilled workforce, Heather, but they also pay well. They're not necessarily a minimum wage position getting started.
Definitely not a minimum wage position. We have a lot of students in the district who fight fire during the summer, and the wages they make over the summer fighting fire pretty much take care of the fall and spring semester of tuition the following year. So, and if you choose not to go to college, then you're making pretty good money 6 months out of the year.
We know there have been some improvements, too, in that firefighting and the federal level, so at least there's some longevity and some incentive, too, in the pay. It's not just a seasonal position that you might be eyeing. If that's your jam, then you could be in it, and you could be retired by the time you're 40, if you think about it.
Sure. So Elko County Elko County Fire Protection District is part of this, so as well as the BLM and the Forest Service and Nevada Division of Forestry. So depending on which agency you want to work for, this will lead you into any one of those.
We're talking about pipelines to careers, going directly into the workforce, or continuing your education if that's what you'd like to do. With Heather Steele, she's facilitating career and technical education programs throughout the school district. So we have hundreds of seniors. They'll be graduating here in just a few short weeks. Heather, and what are the prospects? What does it look like?
Yeah, so if you look at the workforce in our immediate area, but you look at Nevada as a whole as well, there's a lot of high-end jobs coming on with those technical skills required in the state of Nevada. Employers like Tesla and Nevada Gold Mines are overpowering the casino and hospitality and tourism industry. That's what the data says. So we're looking for and trying to implement skills into our programs that lead more towards those advanced technological skills, for sure.
Yeah, we have seen where Nevada Gold Mines, and I mean, it's something they have to do as an industry. They need to fill these positions. They've been reaching out to Southern Nevada to culinary work, trying to recruit workers from the South to come live out here and work in the mines.
Yeah, they've been working with Clark County School District and the College of Southern Nevada to assist students in earning those technical degrees while they're still in high school.
So this is something listeners, parents, prospective minors, you need to keep in mind. There may soon be some competition for these jobs that we didn't anticipate. We always seem to think that, you could just pick up a mining job. It's around the corner, but not so much anymore.
Not so much. I know because of the high demand need for people who can apply those skills, they're looking for people from all over the western U.S. They're not focusing their recruitment efforts so much on our local counties.
And that'll be in competition, as we see even in Humboldt County, Lithium Americas. They've got to hire construction workers in addition to mine operators.
We were just actually having a discussion with GoEd about that this week, that Lithium Nevada, as they're coming on board, their desire is just as much as everybody else for skilled tradesmen, for sure.
So if it's not going to be locals, Heather, it's going to be folks coming from elsewhere, and that does mean a swell of support personnel. There are any number of jobs or industries that supply the mining industry, too.
Yeah, so all of our vendors outside that support the mining industry, they all need skilled tradesmen, too. So places like Empire Cat and Komatsu are also reaching out, finding ways to get current employees trained with those advanced technical skills, or targeting specifically looking for those employees, for sure.
So we do know there can be some discrepancy, Heather, between graduating seniors, those who have the resources, say, to go on for higher education, but those who may not be able to afford or think they can't afford. We should talk about what kind of funding resources are available.
Sure. So any student that's graduated from high school has an opportunity to find scholarships, both like at their high school location, but national scholarships outside of that. And of course, institutional scholarships are one that can tend to be overlooked. One of the big ones, of course, that we promote in Elko County is the MTC scholarship, where students entering diesel welding, electrical, instrumentation, and industrial maintenance have an opportunity to apply and interview to be sponsored by one of our local mining places. That's a $5,000 scholarship, plus there's typically a work-based learning piece implemented in where the students are making money at the mine site during the summer and then on the weekends too.
Yep, a paid internship. So you've got not only got your foot in the door if you perform well and, you complete that program, there again, an opportunity. And I heard, Heather, it's kind of like a draft situation. Some of the mines get competitive and they get pretty excited when they start looking at the pool of students, right?
They do, because they really want those students that they know are going to put the effort into work. And of course, they're working on employee development as well. So they're looking for students who are ready to go, so to speak.
Yep. And that's throughout the region, whether it's in, because Great Basin College is partnering with the gold mines to administer this program. And so you go online. I know there are some workshops are even planned, Heather, to help people literally fill out the paperwork. If there's anything that's been stopping you, there really should be nothing that's stopping you now.
There really isn't. There's quite a bit of staff at GBC that are prepared and ready to help students get through that application, and at the high schools too. I know most of our counselors and our CTE teachers are really promoting students being involved in an opportunity like that, for sure.
I'm glad you brought that up too, Heather. You do work obviously in close collaboration, but each high school campus should have ideally or has at least a complement of a couple of counselors ready to help students.
We do. Our poor counselors, there's not enough of them. They have so much to do over the top of things, but they've always been really good about promoting all of the different opportunities that high schools offer to students. In addition, we're pulling our middle schools in now to offer CTE programs, so that's helping students get some earlier exposure to those pathways, so hopefully by the time that they get to high school, they either have found their passion or they've eliminated things that are not their passion.
Yeah, just as we've been discussing with Heather Steele, that's almost as important as choosing the right career path. It's eliminating those that you're not going to pursue. So we talked about the new dental assisting program, which is a fantastic opportunity, Wildland Firefighter Academy, of which there are 2 sessions, and so it's not too late to sign up for the one that starts after spring break, certainly. Anything else that you want to make sure we're highlighting today, Heather?
One of the things that I really wanted to talk about a little bit is we've had some schools that have jumped on board with a company or a corporation called Green Our Planet, which is providing hydroponic systems to schools. The cool thing about the hydroponics, besides the ag thing being implemented, which is where my heart is that Mountain View, Jackpot combined, and Adobe all have those systems. They were provided at no cost to those schools. Those systems come fully contained. So no change in facilities needs to be made, but then they come with 19 little tiny classroom kits so that each classroom can have their own little hydroponics unit, and then they have one commercial unit. Adobe's been going gangbusters with theirs so far, and they're currently in the process of providing something a little bit special for the Little Shop of Horrors production that's coming soon at GBC, in which our superintendent, CJ Anderson, is partaking in.
That's fantastic. That's a great way to combine these important technical skills to the fine arts, which is another aspect that we don't want to lose. Anybody listening realizes that, a lot of us wear a lot of different hats, and Heather and I were just talking about that. There's no intent by CTE in our community anyway to displace any of the arts. In fact, you have your own perspective on that, Heather.
Sure. Well, so I grow things or attempt to grow things in the high desert, and that may be more of an art than it really is a science to try to figure that out. Employers want well-rounded students that have the ability to critically think and have computational thinking skills, and that's not just coming from the content areas, those what they call hard technical skills.
They need soft skills as well, especially if you're in management, the ability to, discern, to understand, to communicate. These are all important areas that you can certainly facilitate through your fine arts learning and participating in the arts, having a hobby, something that brings you true joy, right?
Well, and how do you incorporate that into your everyday life, right? If you don't have something to enjoy outside of your regular life, then you're working all the time, and there's no fun in that, really.
Absolutely. It's important to have goals. And even we can talk about that too, as far as but I want to hit on, I was writing a note here, exit strategy, because it is good. It is important to start when you're young, to have your retirement plan. I know that sounds crazy, but an exit strategy, if you will. But you hit on something really important, Heather, that I think that was reflected in the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering. Their keynote speaker, they had some guest panelists, people who come from all over the country and sometimes all over the world. Jeffrey Mundell, he is a ranch manager in Monterey, of all places. He talked about the importance of incorporating conservation, wildlife management, eliminating invasive species, that kind of thing, but focused on food production, and something that if we could just literally get back to our roots and instilling in our students. And I know that's been a passion of yours.
For sure. So being able to feed the world and provide a sustainable food supply to communities is a huge thing. The 2050, we're going to run out of food by 2050 report that came out. We won't be able to sustain our population by 2050 if everything continues to go. The other thing is there's been a pretty good emphasis on local, producing local and buying local. And so that's kind of, and foodies have kind of turned to that local need. But in order to have access to a sustainable food supply, you have to have people trained locally to be able to grow, produce, package, those types of things and provide them. A good example is Luciano's working with Rough Ranch to make sure that there's local things on their menu. Many of our restaurants around town do that, but again, to get that food sourced from local instead of coming from overseas where it's not necessarily as fresh as it could be.
Oh, fresh, and we really, really don't know what's going into that food. And if whether it's considered a plug, but Luciano's, if you've had the beef there, you taste the difference. I mean, it's incredible. Just the nutrients you're getting at the same time, just the delight you get from something that's a culinary work. We're paying good money for our food. We might as well enjoy it too, as well as be nourished by it.
Sure. I'd much rather eat a steak coming out of Clover Valley as opposed to Argentina.
Yep, definitely. And even as you suggested, what about China in the future? That's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought.
So back to our idea again of food science lab processing. Jeff Mundell talked about even the art of butchery, which he described his brother as being a butcher in Sacramento and being the only butcher for the entire Sacramento Valley because there's no one trained to take his place.
Yeah, and that's a hard sell these days. Trying to have people understand that the steak just doesn't come wrapped already in the grocery store case. Like it has to come from, they have to take a whole cow and put that cow into different cuts. So we're working on, and have been for several years, getting a food science lab put in at Spring Creek High so that we could start providing those types of technicians to prepare that local food supply. And for years, and I've put in for a competitive grant for about $1.3 million to cover the overage on the budget after the bids came in. So we should hear hopefully in the month of February, so we'll really have something to celebrate during CTE month, whether or not we've received that grant, and we'll be able to continue to move forward with that project.
That would be fantastic. It does have school trustee support, community support has been swelling. Once people understand, obviously, the foundation for a food science lab, so it's not just about, processing and cutting up meat, but as you talked about, there's the safe handling. Dr. Temple Grandin is wildly successful and has spoken in Elko a couple of times, and she understands the importance of, safe food handling, harvesting the animals that we have in our backyards and ranches, and doing it so in a humane way. So we're inching closer to that middle, right, Heather?
Yeah, Dr. Grandin really has it figured out. She has a special ability to do that. I've always admired her work. It's hard as an animal scientist not to. She sees the world a little bit differently than the rest of us do, and that's amazing. But, our food has to come from somewhere, and we have to be able to provide it somewhere. And the closer we can get those things from home, the more sustainable our food supply comes. This is a message coming from the Nevada Department of Agriculture, Nevada Cattlemen's Association, the Farm Bureau, that we have to really start bringing it home to make sure that it's sustainable. But it's not just the food supply piece too. It's if you want to go to a restaurant, wouldn't you feel more comfortable knowing that whoever's behind there handling the food knows about safe temperatures and how to eliminate foodborne illnesses, which is what our kids will learn in that program.
Absolutely. Heather Steele is our guest today. She is the facilitator for the Elko County School District's Career and Technical Education Program. I just learned that we're having a state beekeeper conference that's coming up in Yerington. Those are some enthusiastic folks, Heather.
They are. Without bees, we wouldn't be able to sustain ourselves for sure. Plus, they're fun little creatures to work with. And honey is so good when it comes from the right places.
Mm-hmm. Again, another important local aspect. So we're kind of piecing our way into all of the things. If you are someone that likes working in a greenhouse, you have enjoyed being a rancher, thought about being a rancher, because Jeff Mundell talked about that. He was a boy from the city who just fell in love with the landscape and the ranching and the animals, and now he's a ranch manager. These are all opportunities that if you're not aware of, that can be investigated and maybe lead to a direct career path with 85 programs, right?
Sure. So one of the things that we had talked about when we met with GoEd representatives last week is ag is back on the top 5 budding industries in Nevada. So high-tech budding industries in Nevada. So they're really going back to push that as a career based in understanding the technical skills required in order to be a ranch manager or an agricultural technician. So I was super excited to see that because ag is where my heart is, but it's good to see that Nevada as a whole is recognizing the importance of agriculture here as a workforce.
Certainly. We read about their stories in the Nevada Independent with KUNR.org about using drones for watering, for example. I mean, there are all kinds of new technologies that are being used in agriculture right here in our own state.
Our Wells students who are enrolled in a class, Environment Natural Resources, are actually learning how to fly drones to do range management work.
Mm-hmm. Another aspect, because that's what the agencies are also using now. We see a lot of openings for positions like range managers through our public lands agencies, but the fact is that you're going to need that kind of technology to do the work. Yeah.
Plus, it's so much more accurate than your boot in a hoop.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put that. And it should strengthen those relationships again as younger producers, and again, steering families back onto ranches, Heather, because so many people love this way of life. They love living here, but they need to make a living, right?
Sure, of course. And those high demand, high wage jobs include some of that technical science piece of it. I mean, everybody can't forget that we have more cows in Elko County than we do have people. That's an important part of our workforce here.
It is the truth. Even if we have fewer cattle than we historically had, we have more than we have. And, I guess wildlife is included in all of that too. So if working on the ground and working on the range, in the landscape, and in food is part of your goal as well, I'm sure you can find this kind of help or direction with your local school counselor. Is that the good place to send folks?
Yeah, for students, that's a great place. And if we have industry people out there who, like our wildland fire agencies, recognize they have a huge gap and they need a way to get students in and get them trained, we have lots of opportunities through work-based learning programs to get students starting to train with industry earlier than, for example, our fire science or fire academy students. In 5 weeks, they'll be done and ready to go. So the minute that they turn 18, they can be hired. And they're getting the training done ahead of time instead of having to do the training after they've been hired. So anybody who's interested in filling a gap in their workforce, we'd be happy to have a conversation on how we can get students in training programs, internships, out doing job shadowing and things like that to fill those gaps quicker.
What's the best way to reach you, Heather?
They can call me. I'm at Spring Creek High School, so 775-753-5575. I'm at extension 1554. I'm only in the office about once a week because I'm on the other school sites during the rest of the week. So the best way to really get a hold of me is through email, and that's hsteel@ecsdnv.org. elko.net, which is short for Elko County School District, Nevada.
And she turns around quickly, I can just tell you that. So you are on that email. And when you mean the entire school district, I hope that listeners understand that's from Carlin to Spring Creek to Jackpot, obviously Elko, Wells, and Wendover.
Yep. 7 high schools, and then of course we do work with Battleborn Youth Challenge Academy and the cohorts that are working out there. We're trying to get some CTE opportunities to them as well.
That is great news. Wonderful to hear that. They're doing a lot of volunteer work in the community, Heather. They're not just sitting in their dorms. There's no downtime for those students.
No, they're very busy, as a matter of fact, and that's why we're trying to get them to get credit for them for the participation in what they're already doing, and we know that they're doing out there because they are working in natural resource environments. We're hoping to incorporate a mining technology piece into their curriculum out there, I guess, as a introduction to how we're going to roll out mining sciences and technology in Elko County as a CTE program in the future.
Well, that's great news. Talking with Heather Steele, and we want to make sure in the time we have remaining, about 5 minutes or so, that we're either highlighting new projects or programs, or maybe talking about some trends in hiring as seniors are nearing graduation.
Yeah, so some of the things that we know we have is a teacher shortage. That's a big thing, not just in career and tech ed, but across the district as well. So we're working with our partners at UNLV and GBC to work on some opportunities for students to be able to enter teachers or become teachers more rapidly. UNLV is working with our current staff that we have hired, custodians, librarians, lunch ladies, paraprofessionals that are already working in schools, and getting them the training that they need at no cost for them to be able to earn their teacher licensure while they're working full-time for the district, and then hopefully we'll be able to turn them into teachers. So kind of a homegrown approach to teacher recruitment. And they currently have in this cohort 17 of our staff members. So hopefully in the next 2 years we'll have 17 more teachers. We've got 77 vacancies, I think. Cody might correct me on that, but the last time I heard there were 77 vacancies in the district, or that are being filled with long-term subs, and trying to get those long-term subs converted into full-time teachers. Again, that's at no cost to the students. Their application is currently open for the next cohort of students. If there are people out there who are interested in training to become a teacher at no cost, you can reach out. UNLV has a website called Nevada Epic. The grant is called Nevada Forward. So that opportunity is available as well. Of course, we always encourage students, if you want that one-on-one time with an instructor, to look at GBC's education program as well. And one of the things that UNLV is really working on is teacher apprenticeships. So the students that are in our CTE programs that are interested in training youth, not just teaching, but Boys and Girls Club need employees. And when we were talking last week with the BLM and the California Interpretive Center, they need trainees for their youth programs as well.
Nevada Outdoor School does.
Nevada
right.
Outdoor School. NDOW has youth ideas too. That the students will be able to, in the summer, work in an apprenticeship while they're taking classes concurrently at UNLV. And then the intention, of course, is to have them with their associate's degree ready to enter as paraprofessionals that following fall. Spend 2 more years as a parapro, and then be able to graduate and be ready to enter the classroom 2 years after high school graduation.
Wow. And so these are often, I guess fast track sounds a little negative because it sounds like you might be leaving something out. I mean, but this is just considerate of people's time. There's a lot of online opportunities as well as in person, as you mentioned, on-site training. So you get a feel. If you're a firefighter, you need to know how to handle tools, for example. You know, prospective teachers need to know what it's like inside a classroom. Yeah.
Sure. So a lot of these training opportunities provide you the basic get ready to know and vocabulary training. However, whether you're going to be a firefighter or a teacher or in vet science, you don't really learn the ropes of the job until you're in it. That's where that apprenticeship piece becomes so valuable.
Well, Heather, thank you so much. I hope that we've provided some really good information again for parents and caregivers, just anyone that's helping guide someone, because we too often hear the negative stories about people that don't have opportunity, or they didn't realize they had opportunity, too much time on their hands, the ills of social media, mental health challenges. But it looks as though any of these opportunities could certainly provide an alternative, or at least support someone while they're navigating all those issues.
Sure. So I worked through college, putting myself working as a vet tech while I was going to vet school. And then, of course, worked as a paraprofessional in the district for a while before I turned into teaching. And I'm a proud graduate of Great Basin College's education program. And so there's been a lot of changes that have happened from ideally what was going to happen as I graduated college until where I am today.
Yep.
Sure.
We just need to reach out and make sure that each student knows that they have an opportunity, that someone does care, and that there is a mentor out there for each and every student. If they have an idea, maybe they're looking at a program or an opportunity. I was just talking to one of my daughter's friends who loves anthropology, and she has a very specific area that she loves: teeth. So there's a program for that.
There is a program for that, our new dental pipeline project.
Yeah.
And that can get her started and help her decide if current living teeth are her pathway, or the ones that you got to dig up out of the ground are her pathway.
Exactly. But you got to start somewhere. Heather, thank you. Did we get to all the topics you were hoping to today? It is CTE month. We're so happy to help celebrate.
It is. Thank you for having us and helping us spread the word about all the great things that our programs are doing. Of course, I didn't get to cover all of the things that are amazing and happening in ECSD, but you can follow our social media pages because Kayla's doing a great job of making posts, not just during February, but for the entire year.
Absolutely, and we'll have you back because we've all got fingers crossed, and we want to announce the happy news, with that food science lab grant comes through, because again, it's just for lack of funding right now, and that $1.3 million doesn't sound like it's too far out of the ballpark, especially when you consider what we would get as a benefit. So fingers crossed, we're all excited for that, Heather.
Fingers crossed, I'll call you the minute I know something.
Yay, thank you. Heather Steele, our guest today, and thank you, listeners, for joining us for another edition of Elko Live here on KELK.